Hello and good afternoon or good morning. As you requested, I am making this YouTube video to teach you the judicial branch. I will try to do these once a week as we are continuing at home. So, today we're going to talk about the judicial branch, specifically how the court system is set up. So, first, we have two systems. We have the state system and the federal system. They are similar, but they have important differences. We will first look at the state system in the state of Connecticut. As we are in the state of Connecticut, this makes the most sense to start with our system. So, all state court systems deal with matters regarding state law and state constitutions. Every state has a constitution, just like the federal government. Next, we'll talk about jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is held when cases concerning laws passed by state legislature or local authorities. So a local authority would be merited. So, then you have family law cases. Family law is divorce, child custody, and child abuse. Personal injury lawsuits, contract disputes, and traffic violations. This is when you get a ticket for parking or speeding, and criminal cases. Criminal cases being murder, theft, assault, or possession of illegal items such as drugs. So, we are going to start with the lowest system, which is probate court. Probate court is a court that handles very small things. So, small such as estates, wills, trusts. These are things that involve when people die. When you die, you leave your money and your possessions to people, and people leave them in either an estate, a will, or a trust. Most of us use a will. The will says, I leave my Pokemon to Lewis. And that means by law, they have to give Lewis all my Pokemon. So, Connecticut has 117 probate districts. This is about one for every town. Almost. Some towns are combined, but generally one for every town or city. So, there's some important things to remember. In probate court, there is no jury. You have a judge who listens and makes a ruling. A ruling is a binding decision. A binding decision means you have to do what the judge says. If you don't, you can get in trouble. And you don't want to get in trouble with a judge. If you think a mistake was made, you can appeal the decision to the appellate court, which we'll talk about shortly. Next is the Superior Court. Now, it's important to remember that Superior Court and probate court are the first level. Okay? All court cases start here or here. So what is Superior Court? Let's take a look. So, Superior Court is made up of trial courts in Connecticut. Any case outside of probate originate in these courts. Superior Court cases here the four main areas: civil, criminal, family, and housing. So here, family court means crimes involving children. So if you steal something and you're under 18, you go to family court. Housing court deals with problems between landlords and tenants. Okay. So this could be eviction. It's usually eviction. So those are the four courts. In the state of Connecticut, there are 13 districts. Here's a map of all 13 districts. Meriden actually has its own courthouse. Normally, we would go visit, but because we can't go this year, we won't be visiting, which makes me sad because I enjoy the trip and the students enjoy it too. So in Superior Court, you have the constitutional right, el derecho constitucional, to have a jury decide your case. This is a jury. They listen. And decide. We will talk more about juries later, but it's important to know that you have the right to have a jury. You can also choose no jury. That is your right. All American citizens have the constitutional duty to sit on a jury if called. Okay, so up here you have a constitutional right. This is something that you get, and a constitutional duty is something you do. So now we are going to move from the first level to the second level. So when you think your rights were violated in these courts, you can bring it to the next court, which is the appellate court. The appellate stands for appeal, and if you believe a mistake was made in probate or superior court, you may appeal your case to the appellate court. There's a big difference. In an appellate court, they have 3 judges. There is no jury. These 3 people decide the case. But they don't decide it the way you think they might decide it. There's only 3 possible outcomes in an appellate court hearing. The court can affirm, conferma, the original court decision, which means they agree. They can reverse the decision, so they disagree. Or they remand. Remand means they send it back with new directions. Okay, so that means they have to follow, they go through the case one more time, but with new directions on how to follow the law. So when you look at a reversal of a decision, there's two possible outcomes with that. So the first one is they dismiss with prejudice. So you might recognize prejudice, meaning to have a preconceived idea. Well, that's what it means. It means if it's dismissed with prejudice, they cannot charge you again. The court case is over. It is done. The second option is to retry the case with new jury. So you're going to retry the case. There's going to be a new jury, and they will decide. So as you can see, they are not giving you a new decision. Usually, it's either agree, disagree, or they need to change the rules. Finally, if you do not like what you had in the appellate court and you think you can argue it even further, you go to the highest court, the Supreme Court. So Connecticut has a Supreme Court. It is the top court in the state of Connecticut. It deals with matters regarding the state constitution. This is what the Supreme Court looks like in Hartford. Forgive me for misspelling that. So, the Connecticut Supreme Court bench has 7 justices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then there's another one. So, in case one is sick, he can come in. Whenever you're on the bench, which is this here, there's always an odd number of justices to make sure there's always a majority. It will never be 50-50. It's always going to be 3-4 or 4-3. Sometimes you'll get 7-7, 7-0, 6-1, but it's usually in the 4-3, 3-4 area. How do you get onto the Supreme Court? Well, the governor, just like the president, nominates a justice, and then the Connecticut Supreme Senate, not the Supreme, but the Senate, confirms appointments. So, we have 2 things here. We have mandatory jurisdiction and discretionary jurisdiction. Mandatory means must take case, whereas discretionary means may take case. Okay, so let's take a look at the differences. So, mandatory discretion, civil appeals, capital criminal offenses. So, a capital offense means death penalty. The idea is if you may die, the Supreme Court must listen to your case. They have to listen. Criminal appeals and judicial discipline matters. If a judge was bad, it goes before the Supreme Court. Now, with the discretionary jurisdiction, with a non-capital criminal appeal, means certain crimes, which are you will not die, you won't not die. They can say they won't listen to it. Typically, it's if you're in jail for a little while and you're going to get out soon, they're not going to take it. It's not as an important case as a death penalty case. These are big cases. They make the news when they happen. Civil appeals, certain civil appeals they won't listen to. For example, if I sue Alex because he called me a name, the Supreme Court's not going to listen to it, because they typically take cases where a constitutional question, pregunta constitucional, exists. There's always a constitutional question in capital crimes because the government's gonna kill you, so they need to listen to your argument. So let's continue. That is the state system. That's how it works. And we're going to now move on to the next system, which is the federal court system. The federal court system is the national. You can think of federal as national. And it involves matters with federal law and the U.S. Constitution. First is when the United States is a party. This means the government is the defendant or plaintiff. They are part of the lawsuit or the criminal case. Next, a case that involves the U.S. Constitution, treaties or federal laws, a legal dispute between citizens of different states or foreign citizens, bankruptcy when you lose money, copyright and patent. These are when you own ideas or how to make something, and maritime laws involving the oceans and seas. Further, there's criminal matters. What are federal crimes? Well, federal crimes usually involve money, murder in different states, and internet crimes. So when it comes to internet crimes, if you send someone's picture to someone else without their permission, that's an internet crime. That's a federal crime, which is why you hear teachers often tell you to be careful with what kind of pictures you send, because it involves the federal government, and that's a lot stricter. So you'll notice one big difference. There's only two courts in the federal system. First, we have the district court. This is the lowest court in the federal system. This is equal to the superior court of the states. Connecticut has one district court, and it's in New Haven. This is the building right here. So just like cases you hear in Superior Court, you have the constitutional right to trial by jury. The reason why I keep saying it's equal to Superior Court is because it's the same rules. The only difference is Superior is state, district is federal. Next if you have a problem with district court, you move to the next case. You move it up to the Circuit Court of Appeals, the Circuit Appellate Court. The Circuit Appellate Court is located in one of these 13 areas. Connecticut is part of the Second Circuit, which is right here. It's located in Lower Manhattan, and it's actually right near the Statue of Liberty, Wall Street, and the World Trade Center location. You'll notice there are 2 districts in Washington, D.C. One is the Special D.C. District, and one is the Special Federal District. This one is special because it deals with Congress, it deals with the federal government, whereas D.C. is for the District of Columbia, so the district area. So there's 2 separate ones there. Here's a picture of the Second District building. If you ever watched the TV show Law and Order, they show it all the time because in New York, this is Superior Court, and this is the Circuit, and New York's District. So there's 1, 2, 3 court houses in this one spot. So in the federal appellate court, it functions exactly the same as a state appellate court. You have your 3 judges, no jury, and they do the same thing as I said before. They affirm, they remand, and they disagree. Okay, so you have those 3 options. Finally, we're going to go to the last court. The last court is the Supreme Court of the United States, which is also called SCOTUS because it's SCOTUS. This is the final step in the U.S. court system. This is the last person who can make a choice for you. There are 3 different functions of the Supreme Court. First, you have the original jurisdiction. These 3 types of cases start at the Supreme Court. This is cases involving representatives of foreign governments, cases when the states are fighting each other, so that could be New York versus Connecticut, and states when the cases when the states are fighting the federal government, so that could be CT versus US. Many state and federal cases can be brought to the Supreme Court, especially capital cases. Again, these are the ones where you might die. Not all cases can go to the Supreme Court. Okay, unfortunately, not all of them can go. As you saw in your reading from yesterday, there are about 8,000 applications and only 80 are granted. That's a 1% chance of your case going to the Supreme Court. Finally, you have judicial review. Judicial review is usually considered in these cases. What is judicial review? Judicial review is when the Supreme Court decides if a law is constitutional. What does that mean? If the Supreme Court says it is not constitutional, once they release that decision, that law is no longer held. Okay, so literally minutes after it's decided, you can't be arrested for it, you cannot go to jail for it, it's over. They have that power, and it's a very powerful power to have. Okay, so let's look at who's on our Supreme Court. This is the current Supreme Court bench. There are 9 justices. As you remember, when we look at Superior Court and District Court, you have 1 judge. When you look at Appellate, you have 3. You have 5 to 7 in the State Supreme. And at the Federal Supreme, it's 9. You have a Chief Justice, who is John Roberts. The Chief Justice has one very important job. His special job is to act as the judge during impeachment. So when Donald Trump was impeached, John Roberts was the judge. Down below, you can see the different judges we have right now. You have Clarence Thomas being the oldest, Brett Kavanaugh being the newest. Thomas was George Bush. Bader, Ginsburg, and Breyer was Clinton. Alito was Bush Jr. Sotomayor and Kagan was Obama. And Gorsuch and Kavanaugh was Trump. So you can see you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 presidents that chose the current Supreme Court. So that's all for today. I hope you got all your Edpuzzle questions correct. And I will see you next week with the next lesson. Have a good day.